Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast.
Today we're looking at AST SpaceMobile.
As usual, before we start, subscribe, like, and comment to this video to support the show.
You know, usually when we talk about space stocks, we end up talking about rockets or tourism for billionaires.
Or these huge government contracts that take decades to actually pay off.
Exactly. But AST SpaceMobile is different. This isn't just another satellite company. What they're building is, it's fundamentally shifting how we connect as a species.
Okay.
They're building the first space-based cellular broadband network. And this is the key part. It's accessible directly by standard, unmodified smartphones.
Which sounds great on paper. Honestly, it sounds like the holy grail of telecom, but we've heard the internet from space pitch before, right?
We have.
It usually ends in bankruptcy or a really expensive subscription plan.
Not like this. We aren't talking about buying a $500 dish for your roof like with Starlink.
No special hardware.
No special hardware. We're not talking about a satellite phone that looks like a brick from 1990. We're talking about the phone that's in your pocket right now.
So no apps, no dongles, nothing.
Nothing. You just walk outside, and if you don't have a cell tower nearby, your phone it shakes hands with the satellite. That is the so what here.
And the timing is key, I assume. Why are we talking about this right now?
Because on December 24, 2025, they successfully launched Bluebird 6.
That was the Christmas Eve launch, right? I remember seeing those headlines.
Exactly. And Bluebird 6 isn't just another satellite. This thing is the largest commercial communications array in low Earth orbit. It's 3 times larger than their old models and has 10 times the capacity.
Okay, before we get too deep in the weeds, I want to just pause on the why. Because, most of us, we live in cities, our 5G is just fine. Why is this such a massive deal?
Think about the last time you were on a road trip or hiking.
Oh, yeah.
Or even just driving through a rural patch between cities. You look at your phone and the bars just drop to 0.
Panic sets in.
Total panic, right. What if you get a flat tire? What if there's an emergency? AST is trying to completely erase those dead zones, but it's bigger than that.
Bigger how?
There are 3.4 billion people on this planet who are still unconnected. We are talking about bringing the internet economy to half the world's population without digging a single trench for fiber optic cable.
Okay, so the promise is ubiquitous connectivity, a cell tower covering the entire planet. But as the resident skeptic here, I have to pivot us to the hard numbers.
Let's do it.
Because while the tech sounds like sci-fi, the balance sheet has been, well, let's call it a horror movie for a long time. If we're looking at the fundamentals, the financials are still messy.
That's a fair characterization of the early days, for sure.
As of the last major update, their net income was sitting in the negative $300 million range. For the last few years, this company has been a cash incinerator.
You're looking in the rearview mirror, though. You have to look at the trajectory.
Okay, so what's the trajectory?
If you look at the Q3 2025 numbers, revenue showed a massive spike. We are talking about a 1,240% year-over-year increase.
1,200%, okay.
They pulled in around $14–15 million.
Yeah.
Now, sure, compared to the burn, that's small. But the growth tells you the engine is finally turning on.
I'll give you that. 1,240% is a big number, but $15 million in revenue against hundreds of millions in losses, that's still a really deep hole.
It is, but that's just the trickle before the flood. What really matters is the contracted revenue. As of last November, they had over $1 billion in contracted revenue commitments locked in.
So that's money that's just waiting at the door.
It's waiting for them to flip the switch.
Let's talk about that cash burn, though. Building satellites, launching them. That isn't cheap. How long is their runway? If they run out of cash before the satellites are up, the whole game is over.
They've built a fortress around the balance sheet. They have a $1.2 billion cash buffer right now. And they just did a massive strategic financing round.
The convertible notes.
Yep. Raised another $1 billion in convertible notes that aren't due until 2036.
That's a 10-year runway on that debt. So let's unpack convertible notes for a second, because this isn't just a loan, right? It's a hybrid.
Right. It's debt that can turn into stock. And this is crucial. That maturity date, 2036, it means they aren't scrambling to pay back loans next year while they're trying to launch rockets. They have a decade.
And it's how they're being smart about their existing debt, too.
Exactly. They repurchased $50 million of older notes, which saves them about $13.5 million in interest. They're refinancing for a long haul.
Okay, so they have the cash. They can survive for now. But survival isn't success. I want to go back to the tech. You mentioned Bluebird 6 is huge. Why does it need to be so big?
This is the core of the physics problem. Think about your cell phone. It has a tiny battery, tiny antenna. It's designed to shout at a cell tower that's, what, maybe 2 or 3 miles away?
Sure.
It doesn't have the power to shout 300 miles up into space. The signal is just a whisper by the time it gets there.
So the phone can't shout loud enough.
Exactly. And since you can't change the phone, the whole point is using the phone you already have, you have to change the satellite. You need a satellite that is basically a gigantic ear.
Okay.
That's why Bluebird 6 is so massive. When it unfolds, it's not the size of a car, like a Starlink satellite. It stands hundreds of square feet. It's literally the size of a tennis court.
A tennis court. Flying at 17,000 miles an hour. That's a wild image.
It is. And that size, that is the moat. That's the competitive advantage. They have 3,800 patents protecting that design.
And this is the part people miss when they compare to Starlink.
Absolutely. Starlink is incredible, but you need the dish. You need the user terminal. AST's IP lets them connect directly to the core network of this cell phone company.
So they are, for all intents and purposes, a cell tower in space.
Precisely. They're a roaming partner. When you lose signal from a Verizon tower, your phone just roams to an AST satellite.
That's why the partnerships are so key.
It's everything. Their partners are AT&T, Verizon, Vodafone, Google, Rakuten. These aren't just investors. They are the path to market. AST doesn't have to go find customers.
Right. Verizon and AT&T already have millions of them.
And they realize they can't build cell towers everywhere. It's too expensive to build one on top of a mountain for 3 hikers. But a satellite covers that mountain for free.
Okay. The tech makes sense. The partnerships are heavy hitters. Let's pivot and look at how the market is actually reacting to all of this. Let's talk technicals.
Wow, the chart is. It's a thing of beauty right now. The stock is in a massive breakout. It just hit a fresh record high of $104.80.
104. Wow. I remember looking at this when it was in the single digits.
You and me both.
Wow.
It's up 382% over the last 12 months, and we're just at the end of January. It's already up 60% year to date.
Breaking that $100 barrier, that's a huge psychological level, isn't it?
It is. It totally changes how the market views the stock. It goes from a speculative play to a serious contender. Funds that have rules against buying cheap stocks can now jump in.
But does that vertical move worry you? It feels overextended. When things go up 60% in a month, gravity usually kicks in. That just screams bubble to me.
Normally, yes, I'd agree. But you have to look at the institutional support. Remember those convertible notes we mentioned? The $1 billion raise.
The ones due in 2036?
Yes. The conversion price on those notes is around $96.30.
Explain why that matters so much.
Think about the psychology. These big funds put $1 billion on the line. They get their big payday when the stock is well above $96.
So they're incentivized to defend that price.
They're heavily incentivized. It creates a natural floor or support zone. If the so-called smart money is buying at 96, they're not going to let it just crash to 50 without a fight.
That's a really strong point. You don't write a $1 billion check if you think the top is in. You write it if you think 96 is the new starting line.
Exactly. And look at the momentum. The volume spikes. They correlate perfectly with the milestones. When Bluebird 6 launched, volume surged. The market is reacting to execution, not just hype.
There was some volatility, though. I saw the chart took a hit when they announced the financing.
It did. It dropped about 7%. A knee-jerk reaction to dilution. But, and this is key, it rebounded almost immediately. The market absorbed it.
They decided the cash in the bank was worth it.
Precisely. It de-risks the whole operation.
Okay, let's see what the street is saying right now. Because when a stock runs this hot, the analysts usually get nervous. Let's talk sentiment.
The sentiment data is fascinating. We pulled the quantitative scoring from Alpha Vantage, and it is flashing bullish. 6 out of 10 recent major headlines are positive. The weighted score is around 0.30, which is solidly green.
What's driving that? Is it just the stock price going up?
No, it's driven by the execution milestones. The algorithms are picking up on the Bluebird 6 launch, the factory expansions. It's news about them actually building things.
I have to play the skeptic again, though. Scotiabank issued a sell rating recently.
They did.
They cited competition, potential delays. They're not buying the hype.
And look, there are risks, for sure, but I prefer to follow the smart money. Look at the insider activity. A director, Keith R. Larson.
What did he do?
On December 10th, so right before the big launch, he bought 675 shares, about $49,000 of his own money.
50 grand isn't a huge amount for a director, but the timing is. Oh, It's interesting.
It's very interesting. Insiders sell for a million reasons, taxes, divorce, whatever. They only buy for one reason.
Hmm.
They think the stock is going up. And he bought right before the biggest catalyst in the company's history.
And what about the retail crowd? I know this has been a big favorite on Reddit.
Oh, the buzz is deafening. But I want to clarify something about this crowd. They call themselves the Space Mob.
The space mob.
Yes. And these aren't your typical meme stock gamblers. This is a highly educated community. They track FCC filings.
Yeah.
They analyze shipping manifests to see when satellite parts are moving. The due diligence from the retail side here is actually pretty impressive.
So it's a conviction trade, not just a FOMO trade.
Precisely. And the rumor mill is spinning up now about defense contracts.
The dual-use application.
Right. The MBA Shield program. Some people are estimating that a government contract could bring in anywhere from $1 to $2.5 billion in annual revenue. That would be a game changer.
Government contracts are sticky. But okay, for all this excitement, we need to look at the risks. We have to talk about the bear case, because space is hard.
It is, no doubt.
The timeline they've laid out is incredibly aggressive. They want 45 to 60 satellites in orbit by the end of this year, 2026.
It's ambitious.
It's not just ambitious, it's precarious. One launch failure, one rocket blowing up on the pad, and the whole timeline gets pushed back. And if revenue gets pushed back, that $100 stock price starts to look very, very expensive.
That is the fundamental risk with any space company. You're at the mercy of physics.
And what about dilution? We talked about that billion-dollar raise. Great for the company, but it dilutes existing shareholders. If the stock drops below that $96 conversion price, that floor we talked about suddenly becomes a ceiling.
It becomes resistance. True.
Okay.
You have a lot of overhead supply.
And legally, there's the Pomerantz investigation. It's probably nothing, but it adds noise. And you can't ignore Starlink. SpaceX is big, they're fast, and they have a ton of cash.
Okay. Are you done raining on the parade?
I'm just doing my job. We have to look at what could go wrong.
Fair enough. Let me address that execution risk. The launch cadence. The answer is manufacturing scale. They aren't building these by hand in a garage anymore.
They have the new factories.
2 new factories, one in Texas, one in Florida, over 1,800 employees. They moved from can we build one to how fast can we build 50? They're in mass production.
Mass production is hard. Production hell is a real thing.
It is, but they have the capital now to solve those bottlenecks. And regarding Starlink, yes, they're a beast, but remember the moat. Starlink is trying to compete with T-Mobile. AST is partnering with AT&T, Verizon, Vodafone. It's a global coalition.
It's a different strategy. They're plugging into the existing system, not trying to replace it.
Exactly. It's symbiotic. The carriers want AST to succeed because it makes their own product better.
So we've looked at the massive growth, the scary cash burn, the huge stock run, and the risks. Let's get to the verdict. Where do we land on this?
I'm ready. I'm assigning AST SpaceMobile a bullish score of 8 out of 10.
An 8? That's high for a company that's still technically pre-revenue on a large scale.
It is high, but I believe we're at the inflection point. This is the moment they go from pre-revenue dreamer to commercial operator. The Bluebird 6 launch de-risked the technology. We know the giant tennis court in the sky actually works.
So the thesis is the tech is proven, and now it's just a manufacturing and deployment problem.
Basically, yeah. The thesis rests on 3 pillars. First, the 3800 patent mode. Second, the partnerships with over 50 carriers covering 3 billion people. And third, the timeline.
So what's the horizon for someone listening? When do they see the payoff?
This is a multi-year hold. You're looking for that revenue ramp in mid to late 2026. As U.S. commercial service turns on, as you start seeing AST or SpaceMobile pop up on your AT&T phone, that's when the revenue really floods in.
So high risk, massive reward. Execution is everything. If they get the birds in the air, they could change the world. If they stumble, it is a long, long way down from $100.
That's the space game. It's binary. But the odds have never looked better than they do right now.
That's it for today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. We'll see you in the next one.